Hello everybody and welcome to the iTeach TV network. My name is Amy Harris and I'm a special education teacher in Asheville, North Carolina. I'm so glad you guys are here. I do this show every week on the iTeach TV network in the hopes that I can teach you some strategies to help all of the learners in your classroom be successful and to help you feel confident in dealing with them. So I'm going to turn this around. Hi Marla, hi Rhonda. I hope you guys are doing well today. I am on spring break, so I am hopefully calm and cool and rested from my spring break. I am wondering how many of you guys, hi Bonita. Hi Christina. I'm wondering how many of you guys have, oh thank you Marla. I had a relaxing day. I did a lot of self-care. How many of you guys have kids that have explosive behaviors currently in your classroom? Or, have you ever had that in the past? Every day. Okay, 5. Wow, okay. So, I feel like this might fall on listening ears. So be sure and share this out if you think that this will help you in your classroom. I think we've all been in that situation at some times. I definitely have that situation happening at times in my classroom, even with all of the things that I do every day to try to set up an environment where that's not going to happen. It happens. And as much as we try to use our strategies, there are always going to be students that really test those things out for us. So I want to teach you some things that I do. All boys, yeah. I think it tends to mostly be boys. I think girls often, this is a generalization, but the girls that I have had with explosive behaviors usually have those behaviors at home. And so they're a little bit better at saving it. So the reason I started with this picture of the brain, and I'll flip this back around. Strategy, if you have ever followed my scopes before or followed me on my personal network, hi Keisha, thank you for inviting followers. I teach my kids about their brains a lot. And I teach them that there's 3 parts of the brain: the prefrontal cortex, which is where decision making and analyzing and making good choices lives. The amygdala is fight or flight. That's your safety mechanism. And the hippocampus is where your stored learning goes, like memories. So the amygdala is the fight or flight. And typically what is happening when a student is having a behavior in the classroom that's explosive. Sorry about that. That's explosive. Yes, Benita, it's where you actively learn. So you need your PFC in line to get good learning done. But when a kid is having that explosive behavior, they have flipped their lid. So this is like your prefrontal cortex on top. I teach 2nd and 3rd grade this year, but I've taught every grade, really. And right now I teach 2nd and 3rd grade resource. So we're kind of getting those hormones going with my 3rd graders, and we have some explosive behaviors. So I talked to kids about flipping their lids. So that's when the reason gets out of the way and the amygdala, kind of your lizard brain, takes over and is trying to keep you safe. So a lot of times you're seeing kids in fight or flight. I've had several of my friends talk about having kids that run out of the classroom and do things like that. So here are some strategies that you can use in that moment. You kind of want to practice these ahead of time so that you have a strategy to go to in this case that this happens to you. The first thing that you need to do is develop a mantra. And I borrowed a mantra from Brene Brown, who is one of my mentors. I don't actually know her, but she's my mentor. Hi, Sheila. And her mantra is, I will not puff up. Oh my gosh, I forgot it. I don't normally forget my mantra. I will not puff up. I will not shrink. I will not puff up. I will stand my sacred ground. And so think about that. Like this is going to sound like a bad comparison, but it's really not. If you've ever watched like a dog trainer or a dog whisperer, they want to be that calm, assertive. You don't want to be aggressive. You don't want to back down. You want to be calm and assertive. You want to stand your ground. So if you have a mantra that you can kind of repeat in the moment when something is happening, it will help you stay calm and not lash out at the student, because that is the last thing you want to do. Our job is, oh man, Nanny, that is rough. Someone who's a crazy dog, they're shockingly. Yeah, I have a crazy dog too. It's the first time I watched a dog training show, I was like, oh wow, I really need to pay attention to this type of manner of dealing with behaviors, because when that lid is flipped, the kids aren't thinking rationally. So it is not the time to lecture. It is not the time to ask them questions. I'll say it again in a minute, Chloe. It is not the time to tell them all the things they're doing wrong. You want to clearly tell them what you want them to do with as few words as possible. This book I showed you guys last week, and I'm linking it on my blog. It's 60 techniques, activities, and worksheets to do with challenging children. It is by Susan Epstein. She says that kids and teenagers will tune you out in as little as 5 words when they're upset. 5 words. So you need to choose your words really carefully. You need to take that deep breath, say your mantra in your head. You probably don't want to say it out loud. But if you need to, I think that's okay too. And tell the kid what you want them to do. Don't tell them all the things they're doing wrong. Do not shame them. And it's really tricky because they might feel shame even when you're just trying to prove a point. But shame, and that's another thing I've learned a lot about from Brene Brown. If the kid feels shamed, if you embarrass them or make them feel ashamed of themselves, they're going to lash out even harder. And so that's not going to help you in the moment. And it's really damaging to children. We are the adults in the situation. These are kids that we're talking about, even if, thank you, Marley. Even if they're high school kids, they're kids. So we can't try to get into a shouting match with them. The more you limit the words, the less you're going to get into a power struggle. So visual reminders are good. At the point where a kid has flipped their lid, you can tell after you show them a first visual or a first gesture, they might be beyond the point of that working. But you should also have visual reminders for yourself. So you could have a picture in your classroom that you look at that's like your happy place at the beach, or of your family. Something that you can look at that always makes you feel happy when you see it. Just a picture up on your wall. You could put your mantra up on the wall. The mantra, again, someone asked me to repeat it, Chloe asked me, is, I will not shrink, I will not puff up, I will stand my sacred ground. I like to kind of visualize my feet staying on the ground and just me staying grounded in the moment and kind of in my place in the classroom. That I think it would even be okay to do a gentle power pose. You don't want to do a real aggressive, assertive one, but if you've listened to me talk about power poses, like putting your hands on your hips or doing something that makes you feel strong and confident, then you're going to feel more confident in the way that you're dealing with the situation. So I think a little power pose, nothing aggressive, just calm, assertive. Be sure when you're giving them directions, and you can look on my Instagram too, Chloe, I lettered it recently. When you're giving them a direction, say please or thank you in a very loving way, very calm, assertive. You don't want to give any kids a reason to think that you're mad at them or that you're going to abandon them. You want to stick with them. If they keep telling you, no, I'm not. Oh, Sheila, look up Amy Cuddy. She has a great TED Talk about it, and she has a book. It's in the Presence book, Sheila, by Amy Cuddy. So the other thing you want to do is to kind of stick with them. You don't want to just let them have the last word and do whatever they want. You want them to know that you are calmly and assertively telling you're in charge of the situation. So I like this language. Like if they're challenging you, just say, when you choose to go to your work area, I will give you some space. Or obviously you don't want to be in their space. Marie, I wish I was in California today. I would like to go to Northern California for sure. So you want to really think about where you are. You don't want to get really far away from them, but you don't want to be up in their bubble. But you want to let them know that when they choose to get into the reasonable area of their work area, or when they choose to pick up the papers that they've thrown on the floor or whatever, when you choose to do this, then I will give you some approximation of what you're wanting. And you guys have good judgment. you've been at this for a while, so you know what's a reasonable thing and what's not. But you want, your goal when the kid has flipped their lid is for them to have the space to get that prefrontal cortex back closed over that amygdala, to let the thinking part of their brain, the logical part, get back in control. You don't want to shame them. You want to keep them from embarrassment as much as possible. Now, that is one of the natural consequences of this kind of behavior. So, don't tell them that. Don't say, just when you stop doing this, you're going to be so embarrassed, because that kind of language and that kind of tone of voice is not helpful at all in the situation. Try not to send them out of the room. Sometimes you have to, but try not to do it with a go to the office and I don't want to see you for the rest of the day. That can have long-term effects on your relationship with the kid. I have experienced that firsthand. So let me recap, because I feel like I'm all over the place. I haven't talked to adults today since I've been on spring break. I've been in 4-year-old speak all day. So you want to stay calm, kind of have a visualization of you kind of being like a robot and you're trying to win an award for not showing emotion. Few words as possible, clear, direct, tell them what you want them to do, say please and thank you, so that you're modeling that professional, respectful voice. Kayla, that is tricky. One of the things I have done, this is the last thing I wanted to tell you. If you're having this situation often, then you need to have, no, I don't care, no. If it is happening super often, you need to come up with a plan with your administrator, with your team of teachers, with their parents. You need to start having a plan. And I have some scopes on my blog about talking back and that sort of thing, so you can go back. I'll show you my information at the end so you can read up or watch some of my past scopes on my blog. But if it's happened once, then I like to kind of make a plan, because if it's happened once, then it's going to happen again. Or it might not happen again, but it's likely to happen again. So I've had to evacuate my room before. I've had a kid who, when he flips his lid, sometimes things fly across the room. And my other kids were scared, and so we came up with a little signal I had, like a little clap signal, and they know where to go in my room, and we kind of practiced it. Now, you hate to do that, and I didn't name names, but I just said, if I do this, I want you to go sit back here, because that's where you need to be if I make that symbol. And they know, they're perceptive. So, Mr. D's management strategies. I don't think I know about Mr. D. I love Russ Green's collaborative problem solving. That is one recommendation I have. But you need to come up with a plan. You need to talk with your administration or the teachers near you and say, when this kid is really yelling and upset, where's a place that you can go? You can also look at my scope from last week on I Teach TV about behavior plans. Hi, Jess. It could be that you need to make a plan with that student. Russ Green has a really great strategy, and I'm putting this up on the blog to go with this replay about, Kayla, these types of situations, teaching today, we're in complicated situations with complicated kids often, and we're never going to have a situation where we do everything exactly right and it all works. We might be doing everything exactly right, or we might make mistakes, but it doesn't always work according to plan. But these are the best strategies that work pretty well, and you know that you're not damaging things further when you use these strategies. You're helping the kid learn and grow and learn to be professional. No, plug their ears and lay on the floor. Thanks, Jess. I think, when you're getting into that, you're getting into kids maybe in defense mode, and you really need to work on building relationships with that kid and work with them one-on-one, and maybe do a behavior contract and see, because I think the best way to find out what's going on with the kid is later when they're not upset. Try to investigate with them what's happening. I have 15 seconds left. But Russ Green is really great. He has you say, I noticed blah, blah, blah yesterday. I noticed you got really upset when it was time to do math. What's up? And then you have the kid tell you what's up. You want to hear their perspective, because a lot of kids, like kids on the autism spectrum and things like that,